All right, guys, starting right here. Hey, let's talk about some misconceptions of the National Guard. There's a lot of questions that I get on a daily basis as a recruiter. Hey, is this true? Is that true? And I wanted to kind of touch on some big ones today that I get pretty regularly just to make sure that we're all on the same page.
I was told the state of Ohio was going to run out of money for my scholarship.
So, this is one of my favorite ones. I don't know where the misconception came from that the Guard is going to run out of money for scholarships. Here's the deal. In the Ohio Revised Code, where it specifically talks about the Ohio National Guard scholarship, it talks about what happens if Ohio's budget for some reason can't fund the amount of scholarship money that they need to cover everybody's scholarships. What happens at that point, if that happens, the school will then write you a grant for the amount of scholarship money that you'd be getting from the state of Ohio. So no matter what, whether it is a scholarship or whether it is a school grant, you're getting your tuition paid as long as you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing.
I was told National Guard recruiters are going to lie to me about all the benefits that we would get.
Okay, let's talk about the lying recruiter claim. Check it out, guys. I'm the only National Guard recruiter that's coming into your school and talking to you, or I should be. That means that I'm the one that's lying to you. I take pride in the fact that I am pretty brutally honest with people. I expect you to get done with the conversation that we have, and you're going to go and you're going to Google all the stuff that we just talked about on your phone. Why would I lie to you? Here's where the question then comes in. People want to claim that our scholarship is something that I'm telling you that you're going to get and you're not going to get because you don't sign a contract for it at MEPS. That's because it is a different contract that you signed prior to enlisting. Any benefit that you get, any benefit that you and I talk about will be in a contract. You will see the obligations and what you have to do to get them prior to us even signing anything. If I, for some reason, am not telling you all of the information, I need to know. That way I can correct myself. Any fact that I give you is something that I've either been taught from years of recruiting or something that I've gone out and researched myself to make sure that I'm getting the facts on. Things like the GI Bill benefits, what your rate is for your GI Bill, what your rate is for your GI Bill kicker. Those are things that change pretty regularly. That's something that I go out and I fact check on. Same thing with the federal tuition assistance benefit. That changes pretty regularly. So I go out and I double check to make sure that all the information that everybody else is giving you is true. Now here's the deal. I get both state and federal benefits, so I got to know about both sides of the house. If I'm not telling you the right stuff, I need you to let me know. That way I can correct myself to make sure we're getting you the facts.
I was told if I enlist in Ohio, that I'm going to be stuck in Ohio my whole career.
First of all, Ohio's a pretty great place to live, but I know not everybody wants to stay here their whole life. Me personally, I've lived in Florida, I've lived in California, and I've always moved back to Ohio, even though I grew up here, right? You are not stuck in the state that you enlist in. Especially for those of you who are looking at maybe getting jobs after college, possibly going to post-grad work in another state. Here's the deal. You can transfer to any of the other 53 states and territories that you want to transfer to. There's two keys to this. One, you have to make sure that they have a position to be able to take you. So if you're an infantryman and they don't have infantry in their state, which most of them do, you might have to find another state, okay? That's the first piece. The second piece is you have got to communicate it both with your unit and with the accepting state, all right? That's a big piece to this. You are able to do it. There is some process that goes along with it and a bunch of paperwork and a lot of tracking on your part, but it is absolutely possible.
I was told employers don't want me to be in the Guard and they're going to fire me when they find out I enlist.
Civilian employment is definitely a big concern for a lot of people looking into the military. Here's the deal. The National Guard is protected under a federal law called USERRA. Within the federal law, specifically for the Guard and the Reserves, we have what's called ESGR. ESGR protects your job. If you enlist and you have a job, they are not allowed to fire you for military service, whether you get called up to go to hurricane relief, whether you get deployed, whether you go to training, regardless, you are protected. Now, if you enlist in the military and you do not inform them that you are part of the service and you go off and you say, hey, look, I've got AT for the next 2 weeks, and they're like, well, you didn't tell us you were in the military, that's not something that we can really help you out with. The key is communication. As long as you're communicating these things to the employers, they want to hire you. Now, broader spectrum, you are going to be entitled to veterans preference. Veterans preference is specific to like civil service jobs, police officers, firefighters, people who work for the state and the city, those kinds of things. But there are also civilian employers out there, such as Verizon, such as Nationwide Insurance, Cardinal Health, who are looking for veterans because they know that, one, you are a hard worker. I can tell you what to do and you're going to get it done. You've got leadership skills. You've got all these things that employers need because they is successful for their business people, right? They're going to be searching for people like you. So it does actually help you more than hinder you as long as the communication lines are open.
National Guard soldiers aren't real Army soldiers.
Okay, let's talk about this one. This is one that I actually get pretty often. And it comes from misconceptions, all right? Here's the bottom line. You are a Army National Guard soldier. What does that mean? That means that you are a part of the Army. You are going to go to Army training. You're going to go to Army basic training. You're going to go to Army job school. You're going to come home and you're going to have an Army job, even though it's only in the state of Ohio, unless you get deployed, unless you get called up, right? Here's the bottom line. I have deployed overseas twice in my career. Both times we replaced active duty units as a Guard unit, and not only did we do their job, but we actually did their job better than they did. Don't let anybody tell you that you are not an Army soldier. What you are a major, major, major part of the service and a major part of the success of this state and the success of this country.
But I heard the reserves and the Guard were the same thing.
Okay. The concept of the reserves and the Guard is absolutely the same thing. We mirror one another because we are both part-time components. The key difference between the Guard and the reserves is that they are only owned at the federal level. We are owned at the federal level and the state level. So what does that mean for us? It means two things. One, we have state funding in addition to the federal funding. State funding includes that scholarship, which is a pretty big deal for a lot of our Guard soldiers. Two, it also means that you have what's called a dual mission. Dual mission means that we have a federal mission, but we also have a state mission. The state mission are things like natural disaster relief. We will be the first ones to get called out to go do that type of stuff. We're not going to be the first ones to get called out to go overseas to fight wars because we don't do our job 24/7, just like the reserves don't do their job 24/7. But we are the first ones to get to go out and help out our communities because we are a part of our community being in the Guard. Okay, the key thing to remember is that the reserves are a support component for the active duty. They have to have the active duty to be able to thrive and function as a group. The Guard, we are a self-sustaining entity. We can do the job of the active duty and the reserves. We just do it on a part-time scale. We have 50% of the combat capabilities of the Army within the National Guard. The other 50% is on the active duty side. Don't let anybody tell you that we're the same, but don't let anybody tell you that we can all function.
I was told the National Guard's the first ones to deploy when a war happens.
I don't know where this misconception comes from, but the National Guard soldiers aren't going to be the first ones to get called to war. What we are the first ones to get called to are natural disaster reliefs and state-based missions, community-based missions. We are a primary component for disaster relief. That includes natural disasters, that includes chemical spills, that includes water issues in places like Toledo where there were algae counts that were too high to be able to use the potable water, okay? That is what the National Guard is called first to do. You're not going to get a phone call and have to go out to Iraq or Afghanistan tomorrow. That's not what the Guard capability is. We do have quick reaction forces here within the state of Ohio, but we are not going to be the first ones to get called to go to war because you don't do this job 24/7. There's training that has to come along with being able to do something like that. We can do those jobs. There is training that we go through prior to doing them, but you're not going to be the first ones to get called out for it.
I can't do push-ups, and I definitely can't run 2 miles. I can't join the military.
This one's always my favorite because here's the deal, guys. I'm not expecting you to be Rambo day one. You can always learn how to do push-ups. You can always work on your cardio. You can always build yourself up to that. And here's the deal. Not every job is going to be an infantryman. You could have an admin job. You could be in the band. You could be a medic. There are thousands of different types of jobs you can do. We just got to find what's going to work best for you and your goals. Don't think that just because you don't feel like you're strong enough that you can't do this. My best one, my favorite one is when females come to me and say, look, man, I can't be in the military. There's no way I can do that. You need to meet some of the females that I have put in the military. You need to meet some of the females that I've served with. Those ladies are butt kickers. And I'll tell you what, you may not feel like you're one now, but if you want to make this happen for yourself, there's nothing stopping you from being able to do that. Guys, here's the deal. I have a lot of fun making videos like this and joking around and actually talking about this kind of stuff. But you're never going to know the facts unless you come and ask me. I will sit there with you and we can look it up and actually look up where the regulations are, and I can show you what I'm talking about when I talk about these things. That way you know that I'm not just lying to you. I am big on being factual and upfront, and if you feel like I'm not being that way with you, let me know, because I want to make sure that I fix myself, all right? Ask me anything. We're going to make sure you feel comfortable about it, because I want you to have the best options laid out in front of you so you can make the best decision for yourself. Thanks, guys.